Hello and Assalamu alaikum, everybody. This is Hasnan from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And again, I'm live with a great scholar and researcher, I would say, Dr. Muhammad Raza Baikzadeh. How are you, Dr.
Fine, thank you very much. Good morning to everybody. I'm sure here is morning still. I don't
Uh,
know the place your audience are living, but anyway, good
yeah.
day.
And thanks for taking time on Sunday. That's normally weekend.
Yeah.
And really appreciate your time. And we are looking forward to have some question and answer session and sharing of your knowledge. You have more than 30 years of experience. Right? In the area of AI or technology or data analytics and data science. So, could you please introduce yourself briefly before I
Yes.
ask?
Hello to everyone, and yes, I've been in this field for many years, and my first reading about artificial intelligence was when I was 14.
Mm,
And I love this concept and the cybernetic and artificial intelligence, and it was in my head. I remember at that time I was reading articles, but I was not able to understand all
mm,
the contents, but I was very passionate about this concept. So after I got my first degree from Iran, I'm originally from Iran, and in electronic and computer hardware engineering. And then I went to UK, Essex University. I did artificial intelligence as my master degree.
mm,
And then I applied AI in VLSI design. And so that was my PhD title. The idea was how to define mathematically the circuit, and then I translated actually into internal representation, and I designed and developed an expert system as hardware engineers. So I was hardware engineer, so I
mm,
simulated myself
mm,
and into some sort of expert system. So this expert system was able to design the circuit up to RTL, register transfer level. So after that, the output of my system could be used, uh, uh, for instance, by different designer using Verilog and VHDL programming in order to uh, design the circuit at, I mean, wafer level.
mm,
So that was the main idea. And then I back to Iran. I was heading project in research, Iran Telecommunication Research Center, and then slowly I grew and I did so many projects, and I became head of research in ITRC, and we developed lots of systems in the field of telecommunications and also apply AI in some of the domains. And 2001, I came to Malaysia, and
mm,
I was in MMU, Nottingham University, and as full time and part time. Then in 2007, I joined MIMOS,
mm,
and was in knowledge cluster technology. We were working on semantic technology, and we developed platforms, and I wrote so many patents, and 9 of them internationally filed. And then I had my 2012, I had my consultancy company, and I was dealing with different projects in the field of big data, in training data scientists and data engineers, and in Agiata in different for different organizations. And now I'm of course doing the same, and also doing several small and medium-sized projects. But I have hobby research
Mm-hmm.
on artificial mind. So that is the mainstream research that I've been doing for many years, and still I'm doing it. But hopefully, I will get to a certain, visible level or applied level soon within the next few months.
That's great. That's wow, wonderful profile, And I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, and you did something on natural language programming also, right?
Yes,
Yeah. So could you explain in a layman term, not technical term, because most of our audience are not that technical.
right.
So yeah.
Yeah, NLP is natural language processing is a subset of artificial intelligence beside machine learning, beside planning, beside
Mm,
image processing.
mm,
NLP is another domain because in AI we have to mimic the human behavior. One of the behavior that we are in fact capable of handling is understanding text and speaking and conveying message to other people. This is communication.
mm,
And of course, communication is extremely complicated story because we go back to the concept of language, natural language of different cultures,
mm,
and this language evolved throughout the history in different societies, and that's why we have several type of languages, categories of languages, and many dialects and so on. So the history of language is very wide. Mimicking the uh, human language and translated into computer representation is extremely complicated. If we want to look at the text or speech in form of syntax, the story is a little bit easier because we can identify subject, object, predicate, whatever, and time and so on. But if we are going to look at it semantically, then the concept is extremely complicated because we use words based on our understanding, individual understanding about that word. So
mm,
maybe I use certain words for certain purpose and you use it for another purpose. And this depends on the way you are thinking about that particular word and the meaning. So semantic technology is trying to somehow simulate the relationship between concepts. They call it ontology.
mm,
So figure out that okay, how first the concept of a car can be break down into subclass or subconcept of the concept of car. For instance, car has engine, car has a body, car has wheels, and so on. So these type of breakdown or definition of concept is very important and is the core of the concept of or discipline of semantic technology. So in this technology, in fact, we are trying to model concept or into subconcept and so on, so that computer can somehow understand certain
mm,
meaning from the relationship between concept that we have been defined. But when I say meaning,
mm,
this is very theoretical and very philosophical story. The
mm-hmm.
philosophical story is okay. What is the meaning of meaning?
Yeah.
So that is the beginning of the challenge.
Yes.
And what how we are going to represent meaning, that is another story which is core of my research because whatever we have uh, been working on, knowledge representation in form of rules, in terms of facts, in terms of ontology and so on, the story is very complicated, very difficult. Systems cannot understand meaning yet. So that's why even AI is about how to deal with the meaning.
Mm,
And that is a natural intelligence. But
Yeah.
when we discuss about artificial intelligence, if the system cannot deal with the meaning of the words,
Hmm.
then maybe the challenge is a little bit uh,
Yeah.
different. So this
Yes.
is the concept of aspect of my work in the field of natural language processing.
Yeah, great, great. I think you have really comprehensively covered all key elements of natural language processing, and very particularly the meaning word itself, and how we could eliminate the ambiguity, of words. Like I remember, I have just basic knowledge when I was in USM, and I did study natural language processing, and the first thing was about grammar, English rules, and I was like asking myself, hey, this what I enrolled for? To know what is the structure of English sentence, and verb, action, and all this stuff, adverbs. So but great. And uh, just changing a bit topic, you have been in different countries, and you are exposed to different cultures, and what was the challenges you face while you were doing your PhD, or while you're studying, or while you're working, just to share this your experiences, so that anyone who wants to follow your path, they could be prepared earlier, yeah.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say that I love to know people and different culture, different beliefs, different social behavior, and so on. This is my hobby as well. I read history, I read uh, different religions and different ideologies, and so on. And I like to know about the traditions and so on in different countries. So these are very interesting. Of course, the root of this concept coming from the understanding of meaning, as I mentioned
Mm,
to you, and knowing people, how do they think?
mm,
Sorry. So but these activities I've done within last 30, 40 years,
mm,
traveled to different countries and exposed to different cultures, in fact, gave me a very uh, important, uh, in fact, lessons
mm,
that we have people with a very basic understanding of the environment and situation,
mm,
and we have people with different beliefs who are looking at this environment and situation and events in a
mm,
very total point of view, different
mm.
point of views, right? So that's why people are different. That's why we have different culture, different nations, different ethnic groups, and so on. So this is amazing. But when I look at all these differences, I try to find uh, common
Mm.
culture, a
Yes.
common culture among all humans.
Yes.
Right. This is very beautiful for
Mm.
me because we know we can say nobody say I love to lie.
Mm.
Nobody
Yes.
say I love to cheat.
Mm.
So these are the basic principle of human, and in every culture, every religion, they have it. And another side of it is, in fact, people mindset about the beauty.
Mm.
The philosophy of beauty is also different.
Very
Something is very
subjective.
beautiful, yeah, very subjective.
Mhm.
Something is very beautiful in certain country and very ugly
Mm.
in another country. And
Yeah.
also in terms of morality, somehow some cultures consider something very good, and some other cultures consider that as a very bad behavior. So these are somehow experiences that I have had, and these allow me to see a little bit wider and not focus on certain belief or certain behavior or culture.
Mm.
I always look at people as a human, universal human,
Yeah.
and with a very wide range of belief. And
Mm.
this helped me to understand people much more. So, and I enjoy that one.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great lesson, and that I could realize that that is the success of your living in different cultures and different countries, you know, and that's a beauty, you know. Try to find the common ground, and of course, you will find a lot of common things, very less differences, and you will live happily wherever you are, right?
Yeah.
So that's great tip. Okay, back to the actual topic which we were discussing. For last 2 years, I noticed due to this pandemic, lot of technology transformation or digital transformation, I would say, initiatives are expedite, you know, in different institutions, different companies, and I do realize like same goes to your career also. I know like if I make it like data science career or data science field, what is the impact of technology in your career?
Uh, as a matter of fact, the digital transformation was a very strategic policy many years ago. They started to talk about it, and first, business people moved to this direction, then maybe industry a little bit, and then medical domain, and education was the last one.
Hmm.
And I remember when I was the first e-learning system I developed was 30 years ago based on an expert system. And within the last 30 years, I've been working on various type of e-learning and intelligent e-learning systems.
Hmm.
And so, especially in this field, usually digital transformation in education system was considered as some sort of luxury.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
some universities wanted to have some flagship and say we are very advanced. They used to say, all right, we have e-learning beside our conventional classes and so on. But pandemic
Hmm.
enforced
Yes.
many organizations and sectors, including education sectors, to move to this direction rapidly.
Yeah.
And I was witnessing that many very small schools, even they were, pushing forward toward digital transformation to certain level. Of course, not a very high level one, but to the certain level so that they can manage the situation. And that was fantastic.
Hmm.
And that was maybe the only advantage of pandemic. So people realized that they can work at home.
Hmm.
And I remember 30 years ago in universities when I was teaching, I was visualizing or imagine the future through
Hmm.
internet that okay we will live in seventh century sorry seventh in fact uh, continent.
Hmm. Yeah.
And seventh continent, actually, that was the term that we have five continents and we have one missing one, Atlantis, and last
Uh,
one is. So, seventh continent is actually internet. That is the
ah.
continent that the language is English, no political or cultural barrier, and everybody can talk to everyone.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of, in fact, moving toward digital economy, digital trade, digital health, digital
Hmm.
remote education, and all these technologies now we see. And now we can see banks without office. We
Yeah.
can see offices or buildings for ministries and so on, or companies without any office. So everybody works at home. And that was the concept that I was teaching 30 years ago. And
Hmm.
nobody at that time, I believe, was really thinking that is it possible not to go to office but do everything? But
Hmm.
pandemic shows
Yes.
us yes, it is possible. So we can in future we can go out for socialization,
Hmm.
for doing our job. uh, I mean, almost 80% of our job we don't need to go anywhere,
Hmm.
right? Unless we have to go to factory and do it physically and monitor things in a very
Yeah.
physical and interactive manner. Even now, augmented reality and so on can do a lot of things in this domain, but it's very early now. So I believe the impact is very important and very interesting, and I believe soon we see much more uh, uh, advantages of this situation in future. And we have
Mm,
so many apps now, you can download it and do so many things. And
mm,
AI now is in picture
yeah.
dramatically, and everyone talk about AI.
Hmm.
And I remember 20 years ago, many people used to tell me, AI died. Nobody
Yeah.
is using it anymore.
Mm,
Why you continue? Frankly speaking, very high level people.
yeah.
And now I'm very happy that everybody talk about AI, even those
Yes.
people who are in art.
Yeah.
Last week I had a talk on application of artificial intelligence in art, and
Mm,
everybody was very surprised how art can be evolved and
yeah.
improved
Mm,
dramatically using AI. Yeah.
yeah. That's great. That's great. I think you're absolutely right. Like I remember, like convincing senior faculty members or even senior management about e-learning or online learning. We should go fully online. They will resist. But pandemic, actually, there's no other way, and we have successfully, transitioned from conventional mode of delivery to online within days, and that was due to the technology we have and all that. And I totally agree that when I was in USM doing my masters, we we were taught expert system, we were taught neural network, all these subjects, separate subjects, like of 3 to 4 credit hours. And I was actually angry with management why they are teaching us that at that time. So I totally agree with you, and I can understand and I can feel, like at that time I felt like, what is the application of these subjects, and I was just thinking, oh, they have expertise, that's why they are teaching us. But now, if I recall all the new innovation, when they talk behind is all this, like natural language processing, I studied there, I studied expert system, I studied neural networks, and all this Aunt Kaluni and genetic algorithms and all
Yeah.
these terms. So now, if any innovation come in, it actually opens up the behind technology they use. So thanks to USM and thanks to my all teachers there. Now the things are very easy for me to understand and grab all this concept. I totally agree. And last thing, what you mentioned about arts. Just few days ago, I was discussing with my colleagues that how we could use artificial intelligence in suggesting, in designing icons, because based on different community, and you have touched it also, because something is beautiful at one culture or one society, the other society may not like it. So how AI could capture, or big data could actually guide us what would be the appropriate color for designing icons or graphics, so that's how it's a great application of AI. And I'm closely monitoring the application of AI in healthcare, and I think I'm sure you must have also experience and all that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you like to share something like AI application in
In health.
healthcare? Yeah.
Yes, I have had a number of master and PhD students in this field. So we applied, in fact, AI techniques in health. For instance, one of them was about detecting cancer, breast cancer.
Yeah.
So the image processing was
Mm,
very advanced, of course, at that time. My student started working. And but after a lot of effort, he realized that it's not enough.
mm,
And that's why, of course, his supervisor was from medical domain.
mm,
But he asked me to join their team, so I suggested to use the data mining
mm,
uh, and add extra data related to the living habit, culture, eating habit, and behavior of mothers. So to figure out, is there any correlationship or uh, uh, in fact attachment or relationship between the eating habit or living style and so on uh, with this disease or not. And then after we did it, it was the result was amazing. So we
Mm,
could figure out how different people with different even eating habit may
mm,
have more percentage of breast cancer. And another one was, in fact, in the field of prediction of HFMD, hand foot mouth disease, in fact, in the environment. So I did that when I used fuzzy logic
mm,
in order to predict how, when
mm,
this situation happened or this outbreak happened. And that was very good project and almost 75% accuracy in
mm,
terms of prediction. That was fantastic.
yeah.
And many other small projects for, in
Mm,
fact, we use semantic technology for uh, detecting some sort of or diagnosis certain disease and so on, cardiovascular disease and other diseases. And it was also we did it in Mimos. It was also very successful and very useful. So I believe in medical domain
mm,
there are so many applications.
yeah.
Even now, even
Mm,
mental health nowadays for anxiety, for uh, different type of disease for mental activities, human mental activities, stress
mm,
and the psychology of the people to identify even their uh, cognitive skills and abilities and reasoning abilities for hiring, for business, and so on. And nowadays, AI is playing very important role
mm,
in this domain, and I believe soon AI dominate most of the, in fact, medical care and uh, medical domain in disease, and
mm,
even for health. In fact, I was uh, reading about one or a few apps. They are
mm,
scanning your face
mm,
and identify what type of disease you have, your skin, and what type of medical cream or something, or
mm.
even what type of cosmetic uh, product is useful for your skin. So
Wow.
these are amazing. You know,
Yeah.
we can do and for the teeth, for the eyes, and for different part of, in fact, your body. You may have these type of applications, and it's amazing, endless application of AI in this field.
Yeah. And that leads to the most of the questions asked by normal people, normal, persons like non-tech or not IT savvy people. Uh, I mean, is this AI is going to take over us, take over human? What's your say?
Yes, this is the question. I believe from the first day I went to university to teach,
Yeah.
people used to ask,
Mm,
and my answer is first of all, I used to say uh, nothing is impossible but the word impossible,
mm, great.
and everything is possible. We can do it, and the systems can be very intelligent. But one thing is very important. As I mentioned to you, since the future of AI is based on the current technology, which is very old. I
Mm,
was studying this 40 years ago, and the same,
mm,
all the machine learning, everything, all the algorithm, all the mechanism are the same. Now the technology is faster only,
mm,
the network is wider.
Right.
So the only new technology came to the picture is deep learning, which is enhancement of neural network. That's
Mm.
all, nothing more,
Right.
right? So with this technology, which we call it shallow AI,
Hmm.
definitely nothing will happen like that.
I see.
Why? Because the systems cannot understand meaning. When system cannot understand meaning, they cannot make proper
This.
decision unless, for instance, we focus on certain domain, and by machine learning and data mining or deep learning, you can find certain category for making decision at that level. But that's it, very narrow one. So,
Mm.
but when we move to general AI, if we can simulate human
Mm.
brain, now there are so many projects. One of them very popular and very famous is Blue Mind.
Mm.
So people trying to model the human brain, but human brain is extremely complicated. There is no model so far.
Yeah.
Maybe in future, if they can model human brain, maybe we can do it. But anyway, this is the answer I used to give to the
Yes. Yeah.
question. I say, imagine
Mm.
we copy a human
Mm.
exactly the same.
Mm.
Okay, what's wrong with it? We just copy it
Yeah.
like other human, which normally we produce, like our children and all so
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we produce, assume that we
Mm.
instead of we naturally produce another human, we
Mm-hmm.
artificially produce exactly the same. What will happen?
Mm.
I mean, who is going to conquer us? You know, people conquer people, ruling other people. They may do the same, but a
Mm.
little bit more maybe intelligent. But
Right.
I don't think that will happen. This panic, I don't believe in it,
Mm.
right? So, and at the end, you can turn off the computer.
Yeah.
You can turn off that robot.
Yes.
So you can kill. Now,
Uh,
of course, killing is not very moral act now, but when you turn off a robot with
yeah.
that level of intelligence, nothing will
Mm.
happen. No crime. Maybe in
Yeah.
future, of course. But anyway, so that my answer is no panic. Nothing
Yes.
will happen. We are creative.
Mm.
We understand meaning and we generate meaning.
Mm.
We are far away from make this ability artificial
Mm.
and put it
Yeah.
into a robot. Nothing
Right.
will happen. At least
Yeah.
in next 100 years, maybe.
Yes. Thanks. Thanks for the clarification. I think, yeah. So we are almost going to end our session, and what I want you to like share piece of advice to our audience, if anyone who wants to carry or start this career, what are the key skills they should focus from the start to excel in this career of data science, or just now you mentioned about artificial intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a very good question. Thank you very much for sharing this.
Hmm.
Uh, Basically, the initial concept of data science, data engineering, now everybody talk about programming language like Python, R, and many other softwares and so on. But learning these languages for doing something in AI is necessary,
Mm.
but is not enough.
Right.
So the algorithm I used to write, for instance, with C or C++ languages many years ago, it was 300, 500, even 10,000 lines of code in C. Now you can write in one instruction in Python.
Yeah.
One instruction, very simple and very fast. I was
Right.
running my program 1.5 day on the fastest computer at that time,
Mm.
but now you can do it in maybe a fraction of a second.
Right.
But the issue is not that. The issue, of course, you need to know language to
mm,
speak or write, right? But to be a good writer doesn't mean that if you know the alphabet,
mm.
alphabet is like the programming
Language.
language,
Yeah.
right? If you know the alphabet and you know a few words, doesn't mean that you are a good writer
Mm, yeah.
or, in fact, a poet.
Mm,
Good AI experts is a
mm,
person who can write meaningful and nice story,
mm,
and everybody here that can learn.
mm,
When we talk about machine learning, we or data science, the main objective is to generate insight for
mm,
decision making. But how they build these insights is like writing a good text or story, so
mm,
that I learn
mm.
how to make decision after that insight.
Right.
So many people they forget about this part of the story, which is the main part of it.
Mm,
So if you learn all these languages and technologies and platforms for big data, for Hutton work, whatever
yeah.
technology that you use, cloud and all these things, these are necessary, definitely. But it's not enough. You
Yeah.
must understand
Mm,
the or practice to understand the nature of the problem and identify the use cases and then figure out how what type of technology, what type of language, what type of machine learning and so on you should use to solve that problem.
mm.
Think about problems and solutions. Tools are just tools,
Agreed.
right? You can have a tool like a pen, thousand of ringgit, like golden, but you cannot write anything. Doesn't mean that
Yes.
that is a good. I mean, tools are like that,
Yeah.
but the what you want to write is very important. Data is like ink for that one. If you have
Yes.
data, you can write. If you
Yeah.
have pen, you can write.
Mm,
But if you don't know how to write and what to write,
mm.
you defeat the purpose.
Great, great analogy. Like if you don't conceptualize your ideas into words, even these tools, what you mentioned, will not helpful. And I really
Definitely.
like the word you put, actually meaningful and story behind it. So it's very easy to get huge amount of data about anything nowadays. As you mentioned, internet is wider and uh, computation is faster nowadays. So, but how to make sense or meaning out of this data is very, very critical. Thanks a lot. That was a great session, and I learned a lot. And those who are live, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And those who will be watching replay of this recording of this interview, please feel free to post your comments. And let me share Dr. Muhammad Raza Bagzade's profile on LinkedIn. Please connect with him if you have any comment or any questions. He's more than happy to help you out. And if you scan this QR code, you will reach to his profile on LinkedIn. Any final words, Dr. Amin, Dr. Muhammad Raza?
Yeah, I hope. I mean, soon we see more advantages and benefits of AI in different sectors. I'm
Hmm.
really happy about this one. So many of my friends, my family, who are now hearing a lot about AI, say, "Oh wow, yes, you were talking about this 40 years ago." So, and that is very good for me, very interesting,
Mm,
and I encourage all young generations to move to this direction. And in Europe, I was collaborating a little bit with European regarding how to teach AI or data science in schools and high schools and so on. So I was doing a little bit of job.
mm,
So I believe, like mathematics,
Mm,
we need to know about data. We
mm,
need to know about the nature of data and what type of meanings we can extract from the data, and
yeah.
how we can do it in a very powerful and very useful manner. So I believe everybody should move to this direction. Like mathematics, if you don't know mathematics, even you cannot buy, you cannot add up something together.
Yeah.
So this is very fundamental,
Hmm.
and I hope and I see future that in many even schools
Hmm.
and high schools, they learn about this one, and when they graduate, automatically everybody will be data scientists and data engineer. I'm sure about that one.
Yeah. Thanks once again, Dr. Muhammad Raza, for sparing the time. And just stay on. I will close the session and then we will have a chat for a while.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks
Thank you
everybody
very much.
for yeah. Thanks
Thank you very
everybody.
much.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for watching, and please feel free to leave comment. Those who will be watching the replay of this broadcast, and see you in my next broadcast. Thanks.